Hello and welcome to the Too Much Apparently podcast. If you're new here, this is a podcast for the deeply feeling, overthinking, emotionally overloaded humans who've been told they're too much apparently. And if you're back, thanks for choosing to sit with us again.
We're Alice and Carly, two therapists who are also just sensitive weirdos trying to make sense of life, healing, and our own brains. This isn't a professional advice podcast. It's more like the messy, honest conversations that happen when you finally feel safe enough to say what you're really thinking.
This space is for people like us, the ones who've been called too sensitive, too serious, too emotional, too intense, and have spent way too long believing that it's true.
Okay, on with the episode.
Today we're moving from sensory overwhelm into emotional overwhelm.
Yes, this one's for the people who don't dread the lights or the noise as much as they dread the people.
Specifically, their own family.
The people who can turn you into a 15-year-old again just by breathing in your direction.
So today we're talking about those really tricky family dynamics at Christmas. The ones filled with unspoken expectations, old wounds, and everyone falling back into the same roles they've had since childhood.
If the festive season feels like an emotional obstacle course, you're not alone.
Let's get into it.
So this is kind of like a second part to the Christmassy themed episode from a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah, so less sensory stuff, no flashing lights, but more childhood wounds mixed with too much food, alcohol, and
Forced cheer. The complexities of having to spend time with family, or potentially how it feels if you don't have family to spend time with this time of year.
Yeah. As I was thinking about what I was going to say for this episode, I didn't actually feel like I had a good idea about where you are with all of this and what Christmas is like for you.
It's a bit of a mix, really. I think now I spend Christmases in a way that I quite enjoy, particularly the past few years. I would say that there's been more difficulties in the past. I would say, so as a child, I have really fond memories of Christmas overall. If I think of being really little up until the age of about 10, my memories of Christmas are really fond. Waking up Christmas morning with my mum and dad and my sister, waking them up stupidly early. I was given the Santa narrative and believed in Santa. So yeah, I just remember waking up, being really excited to see if Santa had come, going down the stairs, having the mountain of presents that you would have when you're like 6 that slowly get smaller and smaller and smaller as you age. And then inevitably there would be Christmas dinner held at a family member's house. And then in the evenings, there would also be like an evening buffet put on at somebody's house, usually like my grandparents. I know we also used to do like a lot of family stuff on Boxing Day as well. So my memory is a bit sketchy about what was it that happened on Christmas and what was it that happened on Boxing Day. But most of my happy memories are about waking up with my parents, opening and playing with my presents, then going to a relative's house, and the extended family would all go as well. I guess I used to be sad that I'd open all my nice new presents and then would have to go to somebody's house and leave them all behind. Yeah, and then I would go to somewhere like my nonna and papa, as I call them. I'd go to theirs. And yeah, there'd be my cousins to hang out with and play with, and lots of food and sometimes playing games. It was definitely at that time like what the Christmas Coronation Street special, like having to have those special episodes on. And yeah, I mean, you can probably tell like I'm smiling, like my memory of that is really fond. After my parents divorced when I was about 10, 11, of course, everything then becomes very separate. So then my Christmases, while still nice, they would involve lots of travel and going back and forth between houses, because whilst before it was parents' house and then say grandparents' house, now it would be like mum's house, dad's house, grandparents' house, auntie's house. And so it would involve a lot of my Christmas just being in a car. And not even that these places were particularly far away. I'd be there in the car, like having to go between different houses.
Yeah.
So I'd still enjoy it, but the dynamics shifted and changed a lot. Sometimes it would mean that I would maybe get to my grandparents' house a bit later than maybe what my cousins have got there. And so then I've already missed out on some of it, or I'm not as included. Don't go to as many family events because it's split now. So if there's something going on my dad's side of the family, but I'm with my mum, I've not gone. So before I'd be included in all things, whereas now I was maybe going to 50% of the things. And it started to shift, I think, my sense of belonging within the family.
Yeah. I can really relate to that. And when you were talking about the first part, so before 10, before your parents divorced, it's just sounded like the British Christmas playbook. It just
Yeah.
feels like so familiar. It was weird because it felt like you were describing my childhood. Yeah, it was nice. I have a lot of happy memories. I feel like my mum is the queen of special occasions. Like
Okay.
she just makes it so magical. But yeah, lots of happy magical memories at Christmas time and consistent as well. You know, like yeah, the dinner's always the same, the plan's always the same. Like, you know what to expect. Yeah, and I don't really remember any tension or anything when we were younger, but then as I've got older, that's definitely become a thing. So for
When you
me,
say become older, do you mean as an adult or like teenager?
I don't even know when it changed. I think it's more as an adult, actually. I think it's more as an adult. I'm not really sure why that would be. But yeah, so as an adult, there has been a definite shift and I can really feel that tension there. So now when I think about Christmas, there's a nervousness that comes with it as well. And I think there's a lot around perfection
Okay.
that maybe it's as my mum has really lent into the really nice positive feedback that we've given her, that she now feels a pressure to maintain it or exceed it or something like that. And it feels like, yeah, there's a lot of pressure for it to be the perfect day. So it's
Mm.
obviously different now that we're estranged because now I don't see my mum at all and things are different again. But yeah, that kind of, just that, the anticipation of when's the drinking going to become a little bit too much? When's
Mm.
the first little snappy comment going to come? And then how's the rest of it going to play out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just predicting how the day might unfold and at
Hmm.
what point does it turn from, well, merry and enjoyable
Yeah.
to starting to get a little bit uncomfortable or being a bit more anxious or on edge in terms of
Yeah.
people's behavior or what might happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like, it's not like I'm describing something that you might see on TV where there's like some massive blow up or, or anything like that. There's not really been that. Um, but yeah, just that feeling of walking on eggshells a little bit, of having to watch what you say. And I think there
Mm.
is that. Well, I think I feel it as well. I think I feel it as well as a mother of wanting to provide this perfect day. I've been watching all the TV adverts kind of coming
Mm.
around. So there's all the different supermarkets have their Christmas TV adverts and just the endless projection of this idea as Christmas as, yeah, this wonderful time where things all go to plan and everyone's happy to see each other, and that actually it can be a lot more complex than that. And I feel like, of course, it is because families are complex.
Yeah, but it is that usual kind of nuclear family,
Yeah.
two parents, two children. A lot of the time, they're often cisgender, heteronormative families as well. And so there isn't that much representation for the diversity of families that come in all different shapes and sizes.
Mm.
And they do project this ideal
Mm.
of what Christmas should be like. And I think that is where some of the pressure can come from, that everything has to, yeah, be perfect, but also everyone just has to be happy, like you said, and getting
Yes.
along. It's that kind of like Christmas card, smiley, happy photo
Hmm.
that, wow, look at us, aren't we such a great family? And look how
Yeah.
well we all get along. And I feel like even families who maybe really struggle and don't get along at all still try to do
Yeah.
that.
Hmm. Yeah. Put a brave face on, put a smile on, get through it, grit your teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, like like how many people out there are just feeling like Christmas is the thing
Hmm.
to get through because
Yeah.
of difficulties with family.
Yeah. So I saw a reel yesterday by Therapy Jeff, who I love, and he was talking about an article that Mel Robbins has put out about getting on with your family at Christmas. And I think I've not read the article, but yeah, I think the general gist is like, put up and shut up, just have a good time with your family no matter what. And I really struggle with that. And I think I'm just not very good at what am I not very good at? I'm not very good at, I don't want to say I'm not very good at not rocking the boat, But like, I'm not just going to let things lie. I'm not just going to keep quiet for the sake of peace. And that's not like a bull in a china shop, but it feels important to me to speak up when people say things that I would say, aren't right.
Yeah, I'm curious what the context of the article in terms of what she meant, because when you said that, it initially got my back up where I wanted to be like, no, 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 don't agree with that at all. So I'm
Mm.
really curious about the context because I agree. I don't think because it's Christmas, you should just plaster a smile over your face and forget about stuff.
Yeah.
I can see there are situations within which you might, how might I phrase it? Yeah, I can just see that there might be situations in which you might keep a little bit of peace, but potentially for non serious things where you might just think, do you know what? It's Christmas. It's okay. But otherwise, that doesn't sound like an approach to for you to then have a good Christmas.
Yeah. I think there is a really important conversation that I hear coming up a lot, and particularly around family estrangement. I think but it extends to more than that, which is about, I think, the tension between individualism and community.
Mhm.
And I think this comes up in the conversation about Christmas. It's, do you say whatever you feel like you want or need to say because that's the right thing to do? Or do you, keep your mouth closed because it's Christmas and we all want a bit of peace and harmony at Christmas
Mhm.
time? Um, and I think there is a balance. I'm not suggesting that I or that anyone else should, like I say, just say whatever they want to say because that's what feels right to them. I suppose there is that kind of balance there, isn't there? I was thinking about, so as we were as I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today, I was thinking about family roles and like what roles we each play in our families. And I am more outspoken in my family, and I am more likely to kind of like point things out and say what needs to change or
Mm.
um
I would say whether or not it's not keeping quiet or it is keeping the peace, I think it comes back to being intentional. If you're deciding to speak, if you're deciding to keep the peace, it's just thinking about why are you doing that? Are you doing that for yourself? Are you doing that for other people? Are you doing it because you think you should? How will it feel for you to do that? Will it actually feel good to have kept the peace? Or will you feel like you've stifled and silenced your voice and not brought up something important? And
Mm.
maybe there's no right or wrong way to be. It's more just checking in with the why you want to engage that way and where that's coming from and how you will then feel for having done that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what I've got in my mind is, that stereotypical, like difficult, I think it's often somebody's uncle, isn't it? That will say something racist or homophobic or something like that.
Yeah, something sexist at the end of the Christmas dinner about tidying
Yeah.
up in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like
But I think,
everyone has one of those uncles.
yeah, yeah. I'm saying yeah, but I actually don't. But I think I think there is potential for that. And actually, I wonder if there's more potential for that as the younger generations become more woke, that there is going to be more potential for that.
Well, it's funny saying that everybody's uncle because I can conflict a lot with my dad in
Mm,
terms of our views on things being polar opposite.
mm,
And my dad actually came to mind for Christmas dinner. I think it was the first Christmas dinner that I'd had with my dad since I was a teenager.
hmm.
So it'd been a really
Long
couple of
time.
decades.
Right.
Now I'm checking my maths. No, yeah, a couple of decades. I actually am that old. I was like, that can't be right. No, it is. But yeah, but I set a precedent of there is going to be no conversations about this or this
Right.
over Christmas. And nothing actually arose until maybe about 10 p.m. after quite a few drinks, at
Hmm.
which point I was just like, nope, put that back down and
Yeah.
managed to keep the day free of it. Because
Mm.
if you're going to be coming here and spending all the day together, we're not talking about anything that's going to upset me. Thank you very much. And
So
it was respected, actually.
right. So you set that out as a clear boundary to him.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I bet there's a lot of people who don't do that, who
Oh,
don't
well,
dare
it's
do
the
that.
first time that I've done it. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the first time I've had Christmas dinner with them for ages, but I still
Yeah.
spent parts of Christmas Day. But I think
Hmm.
it because it was being hosted at my house, I felt more able to do that.
Yeah. 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 No, I think that's great. I think that that kind of clarity can be really helpful. That, yeah, if we're all going to be here and be peaceful, then let's avoid some of these difficult topics that, particularly if it's with people that aren't open to changing their mind, that don't want to hear other people's perspectives, that maybe it's better to just kind of rule them off topic. Not for today.
Yeah. Well, I think we're more a divided world than ever,
Mm,
and people are very outspoken about things. And
mm,
it, I don't know what it's like in other families, but it just seems to always find its way to the table
yeah.
wherever you are. Such contentious topics that are just being broached over dinner or a coffee. And it's just, I just don't want to, no, I don't want to be talking about those things, and definitely not at Christmas time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel quite fortunate in that I don't think we have a lot of that in my family. My I know my mum and my stepdad are Daily Mail readers, but generally, I from my own experience and from what I hear from my sister, they are open to looking at, thinking about different perspectives. So that feels really good. So there isn't really that, but I guess what's there whenever you're around your family is all of your family history and what it feels like to be you in your family.
Mm,
And I think, yeah, I just think, like I said before, families are complex, and the roles that we all play in our families. I don't know really how I want to word that, but almost like that, like you were probably cast in this role when you were very young, like probably younger than 7, and that, yeah, you've just carried on playing this, these kind of unconscious, subconscious roles that play out. So I'm thinking about, the one that will be the peacemaker, the one that will be like
troublemaker.
yeah, the troublemaker, or, the mascot, the one that's like, silly and trying to make fun to lighten the mood. And then people like me who tend to be the scapegoat and the hero, so like the golden child, all these
Mhm.
different roles that
Yeah.
come out, and they don't pause just because it's Christmas Day.
No. Yeah, absolutely not. The roles is interesting. And so at the start, when I was reflecting on my experience with Christmas and I kind of focused on the under 10 years, I think part of the reason why those years are so fond and enjoyable is, especially thinking about this from a like being neurodivergent perspective, being a sensitive child, is playing with my cousins, that I never had an issue with playing games. So playing games with my cousins was great. And when we used to get to my grandparents, we'd have a whole host of other presents to open from other people that would come. So then we'd have the presents from my grandparents and from my aunties and uncles and things. So the presents would get out again and we'd all open our presents. So then there would be things to play with, whether that's setting up my cousin's Scalextric set in my grandparents' bedroom and playing with it. So there was always things to do where I felt very much included. Of course, then the divorce complicated that in terms of a sense of belonging. But I think what also complicated it as I became more and more of a teenager was the social element shifts, and it's
Yeah.
less playing with toys, which is an activity that you can focus on and enjoy and feel included with. And it becomes more about talking
Mm.
and socializing, and whether that's with my cousins or then the adults in the room. And when you're too young to drink, well, the adults are drinking, they're all obviously getting more and more drunk and a bit silly. And so it's difficult when you're sober anyway, just to meaningfully engage with drunk people. But especially if
Yeah.
you're like a child and they're an adult, although sometimes they do make you laugh. And then it's kind of sitting around and talking with your cousins, and everything just shifted. And then the older I got, it was more conversing with adults who, as a kid, usually just leave you alone or watch you play. So all of the social stuff altered in a way that then did make Christmas more difficult for me when it ended up being in those larger family dynamics, which
Yeah.
just as it does today when there's a big family occasion on. So it was harder and became more pressureful and more about wanting to perform well and speak well and connect well. And
Mhm.
then the pressure on it being Christmas and wanting to have a good time and feel like I'm connected with my family and I'm happy and having a good time became harder and harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Some really good points there. And of course, my brain's going off in 10 different directions at the same time. Yeah, that it's small talk again, isn't it? When
Yeah.
you get into the teens, and I'm just, yeah. So what was in my head was about, yeah, those awkward experiences of small talk with my family, and feeling confused and frustrated by that because I just family is a really important to me. It's a really can family be a I don't know if family can be a value, but it is a value to me. Being with family, being close with family. But as I've got older and older, I've realized that actually we're not that close, not on my mum's side. I would only really see my auntie and my one of my cousins at Christmas. It would be quite rare to see them throughout the year. And on my dad's side, barely at all. And that feels really confusing and sad because, so if we go back to what you were saying about Christmases before 10, and it's like driving here and driving there. And my family was a bit further apart. So we wouldn't generally do it on Christmas Day, but around Christmas, we would see all of the family and it would, it'd feel like a big thing, to now where we don't really do that at all. So, yeah, that recognition that we're not close, which means that it is then small talk all the time, not really knowing much about each other's lives, not knowing what to ask each other.
Yeah.
I think I can often feel like I'm pushing conversations that people don't want to have. And I'm not not asking anything particularly deep, I don't think. But, just I want to get a bit further than the surface.
Yeah, whereas I'm there waiting for the moment when the pub quiz gets cracked out and we can all do a quiz or something, and then I feel like I'm a part of it again because we're all playing a
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Anything other than the awkwardness. And then another thing that came in while you were talking was about class and wondering how it is for people within different class. So I was born into a working class family, but always had a lot of expectation on me that I would succeed academically and do well in terms of career and so on. So yeah, thinking about conversations around, oh, what are you doing with your life? And how's this going? And how's that going? And, at various points throughout my life, that's been, more comfortable sometimes and less comfortable at other times. And I know for other people that I speak to that can feel like a lot of pressure, if you haven't met a partner yet, if you're not having children yet, if you've not got a job yet, or, not moving on in your career or whatever it is. That, yeah, these little small talk questions actually can inadvertently touch on things that are quite painful for people.
Yeah.
And that can be really hard too.
Yeah. And then if you know your family is like that and is prone to ask you those sorts of questions, the sense of anxiety and dread that you will have in anticipation of being asked those questions,
Yeah.
particularly if you're going to get it asked by multiple people. I mean, I'm very much in the camp that no one should ask anyone ever when they're going to have a baby or children.
Yeah.
But if you're going to a family event where there's lots of people, well, you could have 5 different family members say, and when are you having children? Or when are you two
Yeah.
getting married?
Yeah.
All of those awkward questions, questions you don't want to answer, sometimes painful questions that you could get asked multiple times just in that one day or evening.
Yeah, yeah. Or even the absence of questions. I think even that
Yeah.
sometimes, if people know not to ask certain things or don't mention certain things. And then there's that kind of unspoken awkwardness of like, here we are with a kind of plastered smile on our face of like, yeah, everything's fine. And, or here's all this kind of pain and grief behind me that we both know is there, but not going to acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well.
Mm,
Where people are afraid to ask a question or maybe feel like they don't want to know or think, oh, it's not my business. And sometimes it's actually quite nice for people to actually check in and to
yeah,
ask you things around it.
yeah,
Yeah. And I'm thinking about even sometimes not for the more bigger, serious, painful stuff, but even just when someone says, oh, and how's work going? It's quite a closed question. I'm
yeah,
just going to say, oh, yeah, it's going all right. Thank you. Maybe I'll say a little bit more. But I feel like if I was to really launch into how work's going, how I've been spending my days, what I've been trying to do, what's worked, what's not worked, I feel like they'd be like, "Well, that's not what they're asking me. I think they're just wanting a
right.
straightforward answer."
Yeah,
But I just feel like people ask so many closed questions
yeah.
that again, I feel like people in my family, they know what I do and they ask
Mhm.
me how it's going. But
Mm,
not many people, there is the odd one, but not many people really ask how it's going where they could say Where if I was to say, what do I do for work? What am I
Yeah.
doing at the moment? Where am I at my business? They wouldn't have a clue because they don't ask.
Yeah, and that just makes me feel sad. I just don't understand because that's what I want to get into is like, yeah, what is your life like and how are you feeling and what's a challenge for you at the moment and what are you enjoying at the moment? And yeah, just that just made me think about when you ask someone a question and they launch into something about something that they love and they just brighten up and like they're almost
Yeah.
glowing as they're talking about it. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. I love that
Mm,
as well.
yeah.
When before you were talking about the driving between different family members or people's houses and Christmas, and I shared that was my experience post divorce as well. It made me think of different family traditions and how people spend Christmas. Because one of the things that surprised me when I got with my current partner, well, firstly, my family get dressed up for Christmas and everyone will have their traditions, but there's the opening of the presents. Although I once, so an ex boyfriend who I was live with for 4 years, like we lived together, their family would not open any presents until after the Christmas dinner, sort of late afternoon, evening. And it totally boggled my mind. How can you let little children wait
Oh,
all of Christmas Day
yeah.
to open their presents afterwards? Like, yeah, that blew my mind. Absolutely
Mhm.
was not on board with that.
Mhm.
Anyway, the difference with my current partner's family is they would spend I loved it because we went there, you spent the entire day just at their house. You didn't get in your car, you didn't go anywhere else, and they did it all in their pajamas. There was no dressing up or anything like that.
Mhm.
You're just cozy, comfortable all
Yeah.
day, eat your dinner, play games, drink, be merry, have good
Mhm.
food, not go
Mhm.
anywhere else. And the
Mhm.
first time I experienced that, I was like, this is so lovely.
Yeah.
This is such a nice day. Yeah, it's also interesting in relation to how you're used to spending your day versus if you're doing something a bit different, spending it with somebody else, or if you have a new partner, fitting into other people's traditions and what happens when you like them versus when you do not like them.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's not how
Mhm.
you want to be spending your day.
Yeah, that tension with a partner can be a lot as well, can't it? About I think if you firmly always spent Christmas with your family, to then I think the usual is to alternate, go to one family and then to another family. But sometimes that doesn't work either. And I'm kind of on the cusp of so my son who's 19 said to me the other day, he said, my girlfriend's going to be staying for a few days around Christmas. And one of the younger ones said, oh, will she be here for Christmas Day? And he said not. But yeah, I was like, I had that kind of bracing in my stomach of, I'm not ready for you to go and spend Christmas with someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't actually remember what we wore last Christmas. I was just thinking about that. Because I feel like we're more of a pajamas all day family. But
Mm,
I don't like being a pajamas all day. Like I kind of do. Like I like the kind of like we don't have to that it's just relaxed, that we can just chill out and kind of no pressure. But I also really love getting dressed up. So my mum's house for Christmas dinner, yeah, you get dressed up. It's not massively formal, but you wear a nice jumper with your jeans.
right. Yeah.
So yeah, so I missed that bit. So I'm wondering now if last Christmas I dressed up and everybody else was in pajamas, maybe, which fine. Yeah, that also works. Yeah. I think I definitely err more towards doing what works for me and my family rather than fitting into what works with other people. But I feel like I've had to because of how my children are. And I don't know if it's a generational thing or like why it is, but yeah, like I think I said on the previous episode about we would always have to eat a Brussels sprout.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
I just wouldn't put my kids through that. And I don't know what would
Mm.
happen if I tried to put my kids through that. I just feel like it wouldn't work in the same way that it worked on me. And maybe that's, parenting, that I was really determined that I would not be raising my children based on fear and shame, whereas that was a
Mm.
big part of how I was raised. And I think it was fairly normal-ish in the 80s, 90s for that to be the way. But yeah, it just feels really important to me to provide a space that's going to work for everyone. What I won't compromise on is Christmas dinner cannot be eaten anywhere other than the table. Everybody has to come to the
Yeah.
table. I don't demand it throughout the rest of the year, but for Christmas dinner, we're eating at the table.
Oh, yeah, you have to eat Christmas dinner
Yeah.
at the table. I'm with you
Yeah.
on that one. And I do like to follow the Christmas rules.
Oh, what are they?
No, just like when you pull your cracker, like, you have to put the hat on,
Oh, right, yeah.
and you have to read the joke that's
Yeah.
in the cracker and sometimes the general knowledge question,
Mhm.
and you have to show everybody what crappy thing you got out of your cracker.
Yeah.
Those sorts of traditions that some people are a bit like, don't
Yeah.
reluctantly not wanting to put your hat on, and I'm like, hats go on at
Yeah.
the table."
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't like it when people don't follow the Christmas rules.
I love that. I love that. And I'm just loving the idea of there actually being a set of actual, like, unspoken or unwritten Christmas rules that we have to adhere to.
Yeah.
And I know there will be people listening that are like, I don't want to wear the hat, or I don't want to tell the joke, or, for me, I guess it'll be the King's speech now, but the King, like, I don't know why I'm not a massive monarchist at all, but
No,
it's
me
like,
neither.
but I feel like, but you have to have it on the TV. Like, no one else
Oh,
has to watch
really?
it, but
I
you
never
have to
have
have
it
it.
on.
Right. I've got no idea why I care about it, but it is a Christmas rule that I have inherited from somewhere
Yeah.
that feels like it just has to be. It's a Christmas rule. I'm sorry, I didn't write them.
I feel like the other Christmas rule is you have to open your presents in the morning
Yes.
and still in your pajamas.
Yes. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah.
Don't get dressed before you open your presents. Like, no, no, no.
No. No. Yeah. That's
Oh, I feel
funny.
like we've veered away a little bit from family and relationships.
Hmm.
Bringing it back to the roles that we might play within our family, if we're even aware of the role that we play to begin with, because so many of us are just not even aware, maybe, of the role that we find ourselves stepping into. But there is, of course, the risk that we find ourselves regressing back into those roles, or where sometimes we start to feel maybe quite childlike around certain people. And I'm thinking about where that might come into play, where people might notice the shift between their adult self back into their child self and how it feels when that happens.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So what's coming to mind as you're saying that is my first therapist years ago saying that my mum had she called it a chocolate box idea of what a family should look like. And I didn't know what that meant, but yeah, I guess it's just that, yeah, just the model image of a family, and that we should all comply and play that role. So in my family, I bounce between golden child and scapegoat, which I think is also quite common to kind of switch between those two roles. It feels weird because I don't feel like I'm trying to get a sense of myself regressing into a child state around my family. And it doesn't really feel like that. And I think it's because when I was a child, I was expected to act like an adult. But now that
Right.
I'm an adult, I can be treated like a child. So yeah, I kind of, so I do hear people talking about that a lot. Like, they'll go back to their parents' house, and as soon as they've got one foot in the door, they feel like they're a teenager. But for me, it just feels like I've always been at this ageless age.
Right.
But whatever it is, I'm not in the right place for where I
Mm.
should be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I would say for myself, I stay in an adult position for a lot of the time, but there are certain triggers that will pull me back into child self. One of those, if somebody is upset and I go into my wanting to fix it and make it all nicey nicey role where
Mm.
I take emotional responsibility
Mhm.
for their feelings. And then I can't settle and I can't relax until everything's kind of all okay again. And
Yeah.
the other time that I regress, and this is the biggest one that's likely to make me regress, is being around anger in an aggressive sense. And that immediately puts me back into a very childlike state of being. And
Mm.
I cannot think or respond in an adult way. It's only
Mm.
afterwards where I wish I'd said this, I wish I'd done that and responded in these ways that in that moment I just can't do because it just puts me in this freeze
Yeah.
response.
Yeah, that sounds really difficult.
Yeah,
Um,
and thankfully something that doesn't happen too much
mhm.
around Christmas, but sometimes it doesn't take all that much either. Like it doesn't have to be someone who's suddenly going off on this whole angry rant for ages.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could just be the way one sentence is said.
Yeah, that was kind of like I was saying before with like, when is that one comment going to be made? Like there's one that stands out to me was something like, "Are you leaving the door open?" And it's like, oh,
Yeah,
because
right.
how that comment is responded to could either, if it's like, "Oh, sorry, I'll just close it." That's it then. It can kind of simmer back down again. But if the response is like, "Oh, stop complaining," then yeah, that's gonna blow up. And yeah, it's not nice to be around. It's not nice to
No.
be around. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about if you've done the work, feels like that's capitalized as I say it. So yeah, if you've done work on yourself, I guess, and we talked about this before, haven't we, about the gap appearing between people as well. That, like in the past, passive aggressive comments like that in the past I probably wouldn't even notice them because they were just normal. That was just how people communicated their annoyance. Whereas now, I feel like there's part of me that wants to pull the person up on it and be like, well, you can't say it like that. If you're not happy about it,
Yeah.
then say it in a straightforward way. But obviously, Christmas Day, when, there are three different pans that are about to boil over and everything needs to come together at the same time, is not the right time to start having a conversation about how we manage irritation.
I feel like some of the things we're talking about are hard enough just to navigate anyway. But what about if you're particularly struggling at this time of year? Whether that's you're struggling with your mental health
Mm,
or you've got a lot going on situationally, which means that you're not in a great place. And
mm,
now it's the time of year when you're supposed to be merry and excited for Christmas
mm.
and fun and happy to be around and those kinds of things. Yes, for those who are listening who are maybe not feeling in the best place and then thinking about having to spend time around family and maybe the pressure to put on that I'm fine performance.
Yeah. I think it feels like there's two parts to this. I think one is feeling pressure from other people, either that there is pressure that you're being told that you need to pull yourself together or put a smile on or come on, it's Christmas, that kind of,
Mm,
or the indirect, or that you feel like you should perform Christmas jollity for other people, that you feel like you should, there's a should there. But I think also there's the sadness about not feeling great at Christmas and wanting to. So not
yeah.
just not just the pressure of it, but also just not feeling how you want to feel, and yeah, the sadness of that.
Yeah. Looking back, I've certainly had years where I have been struggling at Christmas time, being sad about the fact that I've been struggling at Christmas time, feeling an internal pressure to perform, and also struggling with thoughts of wrecking other people's Christmas, like bringing down the mood or the tone and influencing other people's Christmas as well.
Mm.
So I think you're right. The factors that are at play here are kind of multi directional in terms of where they can be coming from.
Yeah,
But I think really hard when you're in that place because of all of that external pressure.
yeah,
And for a lot of people, it's not just Christmas Day. There are families that do things on Christmas Eve, then you have Boxing Day. It's not then that far away till you get to New Year's. So it's just a period of time that's being around people. And if you're not feeling great and you're expected to be around people, it's that classic case of being around people and feeling really lonely in the crowd of people.
yeah, absolutely. And we'll get onto this more in the next episode. But I'm thinking about New Year being a reflective time of year, and again, and kind of wanting New Year to be a positive thing, but actually it can just feel like a lot of pressure, especially if you're already struggling.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I wonder about when my mind is going to there is about what might be helpful for us to share with other people about how we've managed that in the past, or how we manage it now even. I've spoken about Christmas being really, my mum being the queen of special occasions, which feels like I feel like big boots to fill, if you like, kind of wanting to live up to that, wanting to give my children the same magic. But Christmas is a tricky and painful time for me. I've had thoughts recently about, is my sister going to go and spend Christmas with my mum still? And, wanting them to be happy together, but also feeling really sad that, the way things have worked out means that I will miss out on that and my children will miss out on that. And, that's really painful. And I was thinking about a relative whose um whose husband died a couple of months before Christmas a few years ago, and I just could remember the weight of their grief and how painful that was. Yeah, there are lots of reasons why Christmas is painful, and I think the perfection that is projected onto it all of the time in different ways just only serves to heighten that, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And with you talking about your experience with estrangement and your ongoing experience with
Mhm.
estrangement and what that means, and how not only are you dealing with what it means for you to be estranged and what your Christmas now looks like, but also visualizing or imagining what is going on with the people or peoples that you're estranged from. And do they miss me? Are they having a good time without me? Are they even going to think of me? Are they even bothered?
Mm.
And picturing what that's like, especially for those who have maybe walked away from their family, but they
Mhm.
know all of their family will still be doing something together, and it's just
Yeah.
them isolated from that. Which makes me think about, you were talking a lot about the difficulty of having all these people to have to spend time with, but it's also important to bring in those who may be thinking, what people? I don't really have many people
Yeah.
in my life to be spending time with.
Mhm. And I feel like I'm obviously fortunate because I've got 5 children, so we have a busy Christmas day anyway. But the loss of my mom and my stepdad and then our extended family, nothing can replace that, and that is sad. Even for all the awkwardness with small talk and, whatever. And I've no doubt that my mum would say, of course we miss you and just come back, but it's the invitation is to go back and play the role that I was
Mm.
offered, not to be the person that I am. And yeah, that is difficult. And I've spoken to a few people this year and have been surprised actually how many stories I've heard about just how difficult family it is going to be at Christmas. Because I think you can feel quite alone in it. I feel like estrangement's not something that's talked about a lot. So I think you can feel alone in it. And I think that's true, whatever's going on for you, if it's bereavement or if it's mental health or, whatever. I think because there is so much festivity around, it's easy to feel like you're the only one at Christmas time that's feeling that low.
Especially when we know loneliness now is kind of classed as an epidemic, like more and more people are feeling
Yeah.
lonely and isolated and cut
Yeah.
off from people in the world. And so, I mean, that's hard enough throughout the year, but when that correlates with a time when there's this
Yeah.
expectation
Yeah.
to have people and be around people, it
Yeah.
must just be so
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about, so I imagine we've got lots of neurodivergent listeners and probably mostly neurodivergent listeners, and thinking about accommodations at Christmas time. And so just simple things like needing a quiet room to go off to be able to manage the sensory overload of it all. And that sometimes that'll be met with a no, or oh, that's rude, or whatever. And then that can leave you in a position where you feel like you can't keep going at Christmas because your nervous system just can't hack it. And
Mm.
I imagine as more and more people get diagnosed or have realizations that they're neurodivergent, and that, the conversation that it's okay to ask for accommodations and actually it's okay to expect accommodations, that these things will just become more of an issue unless and until the people around, yeah, willing to meet you halfway, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking about accommodations as well, it makes me think of those of us and with chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
It's quite a demanding day, Christmas, and usually on the back of demanding days and weeks in preparation for Christmas.
Mm.
And all of the cognitive load of the shopping and gift buying and gift wrapping and getting it out to everybody. So that by the time then you actually get to Christmas Day, there's just been a whole host of things to get you there in the first place. And I don't know about you, but there's so much prep and it's over within a blink of an eye that
Yeah.
you're like, is it,
Mhm.
oh, that's it? Like, it's just
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
But It is really tiring. And so, especially if you're somebody who struggles with being fatigued a lot anyway, and if you are chronically ill, and one of the things that I find difficult as a chronically ill person is my partner and my mum will do a lot at Christmas. But I don't know when other people are around how many people are judging me for not pitching in as much or helping, and whether or not they're just viewing me as being lazy or not helping, because people just don't really understand the conditions that I live with and how they manifest.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I'm jumping up to do something purely out of wanting to look like I'm helping when really I probably should be resting right now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many things, aren't there, that can make this one day, because that's all it is, isn't it? One day out of the year, um,
Yeah.
such a challenge.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
crazy how just one day has been built up
Mm.
to be so huge, and predominantly from a consumerism perspective and
Mm.
all the money that is to be made at this time of year, that it's just bigger and bigger. It feels like the pressures and expectations around Christmas get bigger every
Yeah.
year almost.
Yeah.
And so much food waste.
Mhm.
Last year, as I say, I hosted for quite a few people, and I really tried to be quite strict on not buying too much stuff to not have the food waste. And still, there was so much food waste. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, there's just so many icky things around Christmas for me as
Mm.
well. And then, as you say, for it to be over
Yeah.
and done with in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. 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 There's quite a few like values clashes.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of my Christmas shopping on Amazon because I mean it's taken me, I remember I said to my sister, I'm gonna see if I can do it in less than 8 hours. And I didn't. So that's eight
Right.
hours of present shopping and that's on Amazon. So if I was
Yeah.
doing it in, on different websites and yeah, but I don't want to give that amount of money to Amazon.
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, like you say about the food waste, I'm thinking about how much plastic tat gets bought that's bad for the environment and yeah, all these difficult things.
Yeah, just
Um,
extra components as well, but also things that could cause conflict for people who want to do things differently around Christmas. I think more people are trying to be more sustainable and aware of
yeah.
the impact on the planet, whether that's due to Christmas decorations and the amount of new Christmas decorations that are bought when you've already got plenty of decorations, the trends and things that you see on Instagram or TikTok
Mm,
that then you want to do, which means buying more things.
mm,
So, yeah, there's a lot where I agree with you. People's values can end up clashing and then potentially
yeah.
causing conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. So what makes it a good Christmas for you? What helps you to have a good Christmas?
I think just changing the way in which I do things as much as possible. And it's not always easy when you're navigating separate families and then partners' families and those kinds of things. But I have found traveling around to lots of different places isn't how I want to be spending the day. I don't mind traveling to one different place, but overall, I want to reduce the amount that I'm having to travel. If I'm spending it at somebody else's, that's great. I'd prefer it to be there then for the whole day so I can just get set up there, and I'm really big on this idea of getting myself set up, which I feel like maybe I need to come up with a better way of wording that. But wherever I am, wherever I go, if I'm going on holiday, if I'm staying in a hotel for one night, if I'm going to someone's house for the day, I need to get myself set up. Like people that go on holiday and then they just dump their suitcases in the room and then they go to the beach, like, no, 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 no.
So
Gotta
tell me more. What does setting up look like? What
have
does
to set
setting
up
up
for
for Christmas look
space.
like? What do you do?
It's not like even a big thing, but if I'm going to be in somebody else's space for the day, what am I going to need to bring a little bit of my space with me? Because, of course, I am more comfortable at home in my own space where there are things available and accessible to me. If I'm cold, I can just pop upstairs and get a jumper. There are certain things available to you in your own home that are nicer than if you're in somebody else's. And so some of them are small things, like it depends on whose house it is, but I can be funny about the cups that I'm drinking out of. And I drink a lot of water and I can't drink tap water. It tastes different. And so many people say to me, it doesn't taste different at all. I have no idea if it's the autism, but trust me, you can line up mineral water, filtered water, tap water, and I know which is which.
And tap water changes from area to area as well.
Right, yeah, exactly. So you don't know what you're gonna get. And people are like, but water's just flavorless. It's not flavorless. So maybe I'm taking bottled water with me to drink to put in the fridge. I might want to make sure I'm taking my Earl Grey tea bags because I don't know if they have Earl Grey to be able to have of an evening. I might be taking my slippers. I might take a blanket. I might take a spare jumper in case the house gets cold. Because of my pain, I might take my heated blanket with me. There's probably more, but just off the top of my head, they're the sorts of things that I might be thinking about taking with me. Then it's a little bit of my home with me. So I just
Mm.
feel a little bit better. And of course, my dogs, they have to come.
Yeah.
The other thing is knowing what I'm doing in advance. I can't stand
Mm.
it when it's getting closer and closer to Christmas or New Year, and I don't know what I'm doing, who's going to be where I'm going to be. No, thank you. I need to get that sorted out sooner so I can get it in my head and I know what's happening and I can be organized and prepared for it. Sometimes it's setting boundaries, like I spoke about earlier. So, if there are certain things that I need from people or don't need from people in the day, and I'm not saying I can do this with everything and with everyone, but sometimes it's the occasional thing that I might just mention to someone. I also just like to be clear if people are coming to mind, like how they're getting here, how are they getting home. I wouldn't want anybody last minute to be like, oh, can we stay over? If I know ahead of time, that's fine. I don't like any last minute surprises or things being put on me. And actually, the other thing that's made a big difference is not putting pressure on myself to have to drink. I don't even think I had an alcoholic drink last year. I was there with my water and my cups of tea. And actually, some people are like, oh, you're not drinking. I was like, no, I've always drank because I felt like I should and a pressure to. I don't even like it all that much. So just allowing myself to not go along with stuff just because I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I could keep going there, but I want to ask you what your things are, what you found helpful, or what people listening might find helpful.
Yeah, I think a lot similar to you. Yeah, especially around needing to know what the plan is. Like I really want to know. And so when I did spend time with my extended family, like if the conversations about what are we doing at Christmas took place in June, I would not have considered that too early. That would be great.
Right.
I really like to know well in advance what's going on and when. Yeah, what makes a good Christmas for me? What's coming to mind for me is about being aware of what feels okay and checking with your body about what is feeling okay. Because I think a lot of people really push themselves so hard because you should be with family at Christmas. And actually, if that's not what works for you, then you don't have to push yourself through it. People are going to be disappointed, quite probably. And it's your life and you get to decide what you want to do. So yeah, I think for me it's about not putting myself in painful family situations. It is definitely one of them. Yeah, I feel like there's something about creating my own magic. So there's magic that's lost that I can't get back, but I will look at different ways, how can I start new traditions? How can I do things differently or maybe even carry on traditions that were there that I can't now do with other people? How can I carry on traditions with my family? I love the idea of setting yourself up. I feel like I want to set myself up, even though I'll be in my own house. Like I want to create a setup. I love that so much. Just being, I think generally just being kind and gentle with myself. So not putting really high expectations on myself that I'd rather things were not perfect, but people around me aren't walking on eggshells than yeah, trying to pull off this amazing thing that it just adds to the tension of the day. So being kind and gentle with my expectation of myself, with my expectation of my children, like absolutely, they will get overwhelmed. There will be tears. Like that is just going to happen because it's so
Mm.
excited. It's so exciting and they don't know what to do with themselves. So almost just to expect that to happen. And then when it does happen, it's not like, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be. And I've spent all these hours making it right. And they're still crying, which is how I probably would have thought about it in the past. But just like, yeah, okay, this is just how it is and it will be okay. Yeah, and accommodating differences as well. So we said in the previous Christmas episode about eating pizza on Christmas Day. Like if that's what works for you, that's what works for you. And yeah, and sticking to the Christmas rules, of course.
Oh, yeah. And sticking to the Christmas rules, definitely.
But maybe negotiating the Christmas rules with your family in advance so that everybody knows what the Christmas rules are.
If I'm serving the dinner, you obey by my rules. No, there's lots of good points in there. And I'm
Mm,
just thinking about navigating, those tricky family dynamics. If you, for whatever reason, can't help have to spend time this year with people who are not necessarily good for you, maybe even causes you some emotional harm in some way, that's never going to be easy. And there aren't going to be things that you can just do to make all of that be there. But
yeah,
I think taking care of yourself as much as possible, knowing that it's okay to leave,
yeah.
knowing that it's okay to leave early, to say no if people are telling you to stay overnight.
Mhm.
If you're able to go with a trusted person, like maybe having a prearranged signal that the two of you can go and have a time out or go somewhere to talk.
Yeah,
And whilst it's difficult, staying away from topics that might potentially spark off a type of conversation or personal attack that you just can't be dealing with and shouldn't be dealing with, full stop, but definitely can't be dealing with at Christmas.
yeah, yeah. One thing that's come to mind as you're talking about that is about making decisions for next Christmas in January, not
Mm.
in November, December when people are putting lots of pressure on you. But if you're finding that your family Christmas setup is really not working for you, to decide in January. So you've had a bit of time to cool down, but you're still miles away from the Christmas pressure to decide for yourself what you want to continue doing and what you don't want to continue doing. So that might be small things like I'm not going to put on the hat when Carly insists, even though that would be wrong.
How dare you?
But even yeah, so whether it's tiny things or whether it is I'm not going to go at Christmas or I'm not going to stay in contact with my family from the full spectrum of possibility. Yeah, to make some decisions when you're not feeling the Christmas pressure when it comes around.
Yeah, sometimes I'd like just to remind myself, just remove Christmas and its day. It's just a day.
Yeah,
It's like how I said on the previous episode about a Christmas dinner. It's just a Sunday dinner. You can have a carvery any Sunday at the majority of local British pubs.
yeah,
There's so much external pressure put on it from other places, but there's plenty of times throughout the year where I've spent some really nice and meaningful time with family. It doesn't have to be on the 25th of December.
yeah,
And yeah, of course, it's built up to be this really big thing. And it's nice if it can be this big thing. But at the end of the day, it's a day.
yeah. And it has to work for everybody. That I just think
Mhm.
that's so important. It's no good for anyone because even if you're trying to put a brave face on, the energy comes up somewhere. Like
Mm.
the energy and the emotion of that has to be released somewhere. So maybe it's that you go home with your partner and then you're irritated at your partner, even though it's not their fault. You're irritated by your parents or your siblings, but you take it out on your partner and then the damage is there. Or maybe you turn it on yourself and you're telling yourself that you're no good or you're making a fuss about nothing or, whatever it is. Or so yeah, I think it's really important to, yeah, find some way to make it work for you.
I love that. Yeah.
I might pull together some resources and stick them in like you did the carousel before with the autism resources. I might put together some resources around, like good books on boundaries and just have a think about maybe some Christmas specific resources as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good.
If Christmas brings out the worst in your family, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you.
You're not too sensitive. You're responding to patterns that have existed for years.
And the most compassionate thing you can do is to listen to what your body and emotions are telling you.
Whether that means leaving early, setting boundaries, or doing Christmas your own way, you have permission.
You're allowed to want peace.
And you're allowed to protect yourself, even from family.
Next time, we're bringing you Too Tired to Transform, a soothing antidote to New Year, New Me propaganda.
The annual ritual where everyone pretends they're going to overhaul their entire life while the rest of us are lying on the sofa just questioning our existence.
But for now, we'll leave you with this. What would it look like to have a Christmas that feels good, even if it's different from what your family expects? That's all from us today. If this episode made you feel a bit less alone, the best way to help us reach more people is to subscribe, rate the podcast, and follow Too Much Apparently on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Those simple clicks help other sensitive humans find us when they need it most. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon.